Okay, you guys. So please ignore the fact that my hair looks gross and greasy today. I promise I just washed it today. However, I think I put way too much product in it. And now that my hair is pretty thin, I feel like it just can't take as much product as it used to. So this is your sign, ladies and gentlemen, don't dye your hair. Okay, because I used to have a full head of purple hair. I'm going to insert pictures for you guys to see. And bleaching and dyeing my hair purple by myself, I'm not talking about hiring a professional. I'm talking about doing it yourself. You're going to end up with about 3 strands of hair. So, yeah, maybe don't do it. So, anyways, so today's podcast episode, we're going to be talking about health, fitness, hustle culture, how I feel about it, how I feel it affects a lot of people, especially through a lot of influencers who talk about certain themes and topics, diets, workouts, etc. My own journey with the gym, with nutrition, with fitness, etc., etc. Because although we do live in a capitalistic society and we are slaves to that society, we do not have to act like slaves to that society. And we're going to talk a little bit about it today. But if you guys are new here, hi, my name is Gabby Giselle, and this is the Gabby Hour, and I hope you guys enjoy it here. This is going to be an hour worth of a yap session. We do this every single Monday, and if you guys want to see more, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below, and let's carry on. So today's podcast episode, we're going to be talking about health and fitness and hustle culture, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to talk a little bit about my experience with this. I think I've kind of recapped this a little bit in the first podcast episode that I ever posted called My Lore, where I talked a little bit about how I felt towards hustle culture, motivation posts, motivational quotes, fitness people, fitness nutrition gurus, et cetera, et cetera. And just to wrap it up pretty concisely, I had a very negative opinion on that side of the internet. I had a very negative opinion of people like that, people who post things like that, people who promote things like that, because I had a really negative outlook due to my own horrible and negative self-image. So of course, as somebody who hated themselves, I really hated the idea of other people trying to better themselves because it made me uncomfortable. And a lot of the things in my life I've realized are just things that are mirrors. I think that that's something I heard a really long time ago, that everything that bothers you is a mirror and you should pay attention. And, especially like irrational things that bother you about people. As I have a podcast where sometimes I talk about people who piss me off for no reason other than they just bother me. But the journey is ongoing. But really, I just had such a negative connotation of this industry as a whole when it came to fitness and nutrition because I had a bad relationship with it. And I grew up in a household where, like, sometime around age 6 or 7, my mom came home and replaced all of our cow's milk with almond milk and soy milk. I grew up in a house where my mom and my parents, like, ate healthy. And we didn't have, like, chips and snacks and unhealthy food. And as a Hispanic person, I felt excluded because everybody else was enjoying, like, delicious Hispanic home-cooked meals like tamales, pozole, carne asada, et cetera, all these other junk food-ish meals, okay, that my parents and I, we didn't have because my parents were really into health and fitness growing up. And I think that's also another reason why I had a really negative relationship with it because I was just kind of like, I hate everything that my parents do. We all go through the phase, whatever. And so I understood the importance of health. I understood that, like, McDonald's is bad for you. I understood that we shouldn't be eating, like, candy and sweets and junk food and all this stuff. But I saw so many of the kids that I was friends with eating that sort of thing. Specifically, we had a friend in the neighborhood who lived with her grandparents, but she lived with her grandparents, but her mom lived across the street. And her grandparents were on a lot of, like, welfare and SNAP benefits and this, that, and the other. And so they always had, like, freezers and extra fridges full of snacks and chips and soda and popsicles and this, that, and the other. And they used to, like, buy her everything she wanted. And so I would see her And I would feel like, man, I wish my house had all these fun things, because my house was not a house where you would find candy or soda or chips or anything that kids want. Okay. And so I really resented that fact that like my parents decided to get healthy and like start to break this generations of unhealthy eating, which was good for me. Obviously, when your parents are making an initiative to raise you to eat healthy foods, to understand the importance of healthy eating, nutrition, and fitness, that's a really great household to live in. A lot of people don't get the privilege of that. And I understand that now. But at the time, I was angry. Okay? I wanted a fucking Pop-Tart. I think in my life, I might have had like 3 Pop-Tarts ever, if that. Did I like it when I tried it? No. But it was cool and it was trendy and I wanted to be a part of the girlies. Okay? So, anyways, but sometime around when I was like 18 or 19 years old, I believe during COVID, I wanted to like get fit, because everybody was posting that like, hey, it's COVID time. Like, we're going outside, we're moving our bodies, we're getting fit, blah, 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 blah. And so I was like influenced. And so I started taking progress pictures, wanting to lose weight. Really, I was just not eating. I'm going to be honest with you. And I worked at a juice bar at the time. It was like a juice smoothie acai bowl place. And I would work from like 6 in the morning until about 1 p.m., maybe 2 p.m. at the latest. And so I would go to work in the morning and I would have a smoothie at work in the morning. And then for my lunchtime at work, I would have an acai bowl, right? And then I would make myself a giant green juice with like a bunch of ginger, apples, all these other things, et cetera, et cetera. And I would take it home with me in a giant 32-ounce mason jar. And I would go home and take a nap, right? Because I'm waking up super early. I'm not getting a lot of sleep. And this was kind of like my routine. I would wake up at like 4 p.m., 3 or 4 p.m., and I would get ready. I would like do my makeup, do my hair, et cetera, put on an outfit. And then I would like call up my friends. I would go pick up my friends. We would garden ourselves. Okay. We would do the marijuana. I know. We would go gardening together. And then, well, usually, honestly, I was like the only one who was seriously a stoner. I'm not going to lie. I think everybody else was kind of like chill about it. Me? No. I couldn't function without it. And so we would do that. We'd go to a skate park and I would bring my green juice with me and I would drink the green juice at this skate park. And then we'd skateboard and we'd run around and we'd scream and yell and like fuck around with each other, and we'd be outside all day. And then around like 9:30, 10-ish, when we would all go home, we would go get junk food. So all I'm eating in the day is like liquids, basically. An acai bowl is like the most solid thing I've had all day. And then like one giant thing of junk food at night. Okay, like this was my routine. And then I would go home around like midnight and then do the whole thing over again. Okay, so I really wasn't eating much in those times. And I lost a lot of weight. And I remember I came home for Thanksgiving or Christmas or something that year. And my mom was like, wow, you're so skinny. Like you have chicken legs, this, that, and the other. And mind you, growing up, I was always like a little bit chunky-ish, you know. When I look back at the pictures, I don't look that chunky at all. But, you know, I just had like weird, awkward preteen phase, all right? And so I was a little bit chunky. And so I always heard growing up that like I was getting chunky. I should watch what I eat, this, that, and the other. And like my mom never did it in a way that was condescending. I just think that that's normal in Hispanic culture. Like they call you gorda. They, you know, they kind of just, they poke fun at you when they see you're either too skinny or too fat. It doesn't matter. In a Hispanic family, you're getting made fun of. That's just how it works. All right. Anything and everything that can be used as a weapon against you and your like self-confidence is going to get used against you in a Hispanic house. I promise you that every single damn time. Okay. Now, with love, of course, because for some reason that's how Hispanic families work. So when I moved back to Florida, I stopped going to like the skate park. I'd stopped hanging out with my friends. We'd all had kind of a falling out. It was kind of, I was just spending a lot of time at home doing nothing, really. I was spending a lot of time at home doing nothing. And so I gained a lot of weight because, again, I was still eating like crap. And turns out just because you're eating a little bit less calories doesn't mean those calories are not adding on to your body fat. Just saying. And so when I came back to Florida and opened the business and did all these things, I was just so busy working and, focusing on that and just kind of like sitting around at home. I didn't have any friends anymore because, all my friends had gone off to college. I was in my hometown alone. I had a boyfriend at the time who was like the skinniest little toothpick you could find in the street. And, he wasn't exactly the healthiest person either. Like, he would barely eat and he didn't really all we would do is like go to dinner, I guess. Like, that's really all we did together. And so I gained a lot of freaking weight. And around 2022, like that new year in January, I was like, okay, I'm really going to get serious about it. Because I had started at the end of 2021, sort of going to Planet Fitness, kind of working out, but I was still eating like crap. I really wasn't paying attention to my food and all that. And so I had lost like 5 pounds maybe between like September of 2021 and January of 2022. And so in January, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a challenge with myself. And for 21 days, I'm going to work out every single day because I got it in my head that like 21 days to create a habit. I'm going to do it every single day. No rest days, like 4 a.m. Let's go. So I started doing that, started waking up at like 4:30 in the morning, going to the gym every single day. And in those 21 days, I lost a lot of weight. I lost about 17 pounds, which is crazy. Okay. Not normal, not typical, doesn't normally happen. But again, I wasn't taking any rest days. I was, when you start at first with like eating right and working out pretty consistently, your body kind of like snaps into like, okay, let's burn this fat away. Like, it's fucking screaming for help. It's kind of like, okay, bitch, finally, we're doing something good for us. Let's get rid of this fat. We don't need it anymore. And so I lost a lot of weight. And I was feeling so good. I was like, oh my God, this is my new favorite thing. I'm like so sexy and hot and gorgeous. And so I like kept going to the gym all of 2022. I was extremely consistent and, I was eating right. I was doing everything that I needed to do. I was also like coming to the conclusion pretty fast that I didn't like my boyfriend. I didn't like my boyfriend at the time. And I was like avoiding him really. And all I was doing was like working, going to the gym, cooking, eating right. I was going to the skate park with him sometimes, but mostly avoiding him. And then in October of that year, or maybe November of that year, 2022, I broke up with him. And that's really when I was like, okay, like now that I don't have this distraction in my life, I'm ramping it all the way up. I started lifting a ton of weight because before, when I started going to the gym, I was like doing the elliptical, I was doing the stairs, I would do a little bit of weights, I would do, workouts that I saw people doing on Instagram. I didn't really understand a lot of it. But at the end of 2022, when I broke up with my ex, I was like, oh, it's hot girl summer. We're getting on it. So I stopped going to the gym super early in the morning and I started going at night, which worst thing that I could do. I think this is my downfall of my gym routine. But honestly, with this gym routine, I got super great results because I started incorporating weight. I started counting my protein count. I started making sure that I'm having 150 grams of protein a day, which is a lot. But I was like, okay, I'm doing this thing. Like, I'm going to get super fit. I'm going to get super sexy. My goal at that point was no longer to just lose weight because I had lost a lot of weight. My goal was to like gain muscle, to get good glutes, to get nice legs, to get nice arms, a nice back. I was like, okay, like we are in our gym girl era, right? I started taking it super seriously. I was eating like everything the right way. And I started, having friends. That's when I started to like kind of get out there and hang out with people and meet new people out and like create new relationships and friendships and stuff. That's when I started hanging out with my friend Maddie a lot. So it was, during the week, working all day long, going to the gym at night, hanging out with my friends at night, going home, going to work in the morning, eating, going to the gym, going to hang out with my friends, and then going home and doing it all over. Like, it was just constant. All that I cared about was work, the gym, and hanging out with my friends. That's all I was doing. And everything was like so awesome, right? Because at this point, business is doing great. I've got tons of employees. I've got, I didn't have to be at work so early in the morning all the time. I only really worked a couple of days a week. I was doing amazing. Okay. And then comes along at the end of 2023, my boyfriend, who I still am with, obviously. I talked about how we met in the last podcast episode. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out because it's really funny. The story of how we met. We met in the club because we all fam. And it was the best thing to happen to me ever. I think, like, genuinely, I talk about him a lot online and I talk about him a lot, like, on the podcast. He's on my socials, and like, my family knows about him. This September, we're going to go to California to go visit my extended family. And I want him to come with so that he can meet my family. Cause hopefully in the next couple of years, we're getting married. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty damn sure this is the man in my, like, that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And, if that changes, then I'll probably look like Boo Boo the Fool. But for now, we're going to talk about him anyways. And so when he and I met, he was also getting super fit. Like, he was working out every single day. Now, one thing about my boyfriend, I just want to mention this right here. He does not understand fitness and nutrition and health like I do. Okay. He has a very, I would say, normal understanding of it, which is eat less calories, exercise more, and eat something healthy. That's like what people understand about fitness, okay? Which those assumptions are not wrong. However, my boyfriend doesn't eat all day, and then he goes for a run, and then he eats a giant Chipotle bowl, and he thinks that that's nutrition because it caused him to lose weight. And I'm like, that's not nutrition. That is a calorie deficit, and that's all that it is. And I keep trying to explain to him that, that's not really healthy. You have to eat more than just one Chipotle bowl a day. Probably should be eating multiple times a day throughout the day because that's best for your metabolism and et cetera, et cetera. But he doesn't care. Whatever. So when we first started dating, I was, again, going to the gym a lot, like, just really grinding. And then in November of that year, so about a month, I think we had just moved in together. I was still really consistent. I hurt my knee in the gym. And this is kind of where everything kind of just, just straight down. Because like I said, I started going at night. I started, lifting heavier weight. For me at this time, the gym was about how strong can I get? Because something about me, I love to feel strong. Okay, I enjoy the feeling of knowing that I could kick a man's ass at any point in time. Okay, that makes me feel safe and secure and good about myself. Okay, I can endure a lot. I have endured a lot. I'm a business owner. I do everything pretty much by myself. And I take a lot of pride in that. The fact that I'm strong enough to handle an entire business on my back. I take a lot of pride in doing things on my own. Now, is some of it a little bit bad for you? Yes. Yes, it is. But anyways, so I was doing a leg press and I had been maxing out here like 630 pounds, 680 pounds. This day I was lifting like 700 and something pounds. Okay. Why, you might ask? I don't fucking know, okay? I wanted to be the biggest, baddest bitch out there with the finest legs, okay? So I was lifting 700 pounds on a leg press. Should I have been? No, okay? And I'm going to explain to you why. Because the weight was so heavy that I went to go do, I remember it's like the third rep, okay? I was doing 10 reps. I was like, if I can hit this for 10, I'm doing it again tomorrow. But if I can't, and I can only go to 8, then I'm only going to go to 8 tomorrow. So I was like, okay, well, I guess not tomorrow, but like the next leg day. So I went to go push on my third and I was struggling. I was like, okay, I don't think that I'm going to be able to get 8 out of this, but I'm just going to see how far I can go. Maybe I can get to 5. And so I get to 3 and I push. And on the way back, I have a problem with the bottom of my spine, and I think that this is why this happens. I've talked about it before, but on my bottom lumbar of my spine, it's still connected to my hip on one side. So one leg is longer than the other. That means that a lot of times, like when my feet are straight, one of them is not straight. When I'm standing upright, I have to lean on one side. Otherwise, I get uncomfortable after a long time. When I sit, as you guys can tell, I like to sit with one leg up, et cetera, et cetera. Just all these small things that I do when it's just all these small things that I do when I exercise or when I exist because of my back issue causes, just it's a weird function. So what I'm going to assume here happened is that because I was pushing so hard, the inconsistency in the length of my legs caused my knee to kind of like lock out. So yeah, basically on the way back down from the leg press, I completely messed up my knee. And it kind of like locked out. And like the only word that I can think of for this is like it stuttered. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like I went to go push back. Like, let's say like this is my knee like coming down. It like, and it hurt really, really bad. And I was like, oh, okay. But then I'd come down and I was like, okay. And then I tried to push the weight again and it didn't hurt. So I was like, oh, I didn't break my knee. I thought maybe it was just like an awkward sort of thing that happened. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep on keeping on. Do you know what I'm saying? And I went to go push up and it hurt like hell. And I was like, damn it. I hurt myself. So I ended up leaving the gym early because I couldn't do anything. So yeah, basically the premise of that story was that I hurt my leg and then I couldn't work out for like a month, like literally like couldn't put any weight or pressure on my leg for a month. I even thought about actually going to the doctor to like get an x-ray and see what was going on. But I saw it like slowly getting a little bit better over time. But in that month, I started living with Jake. I stopped going to the gym. We were going out to eat a lot. We were hanging out with friends a lot. January came around. I was like, okay, I think I'm doing a little bit better now. Like, let me start with little bit of weights. And if anybody who's ever gotten really into the gym has ever had an injury or something like that happen from the gym, it is the absolute worst when you can no longer lift the weight that you were able to lift before. Nothing is more frustrating than going to the gym and being like, okay, we'll do a little bit of lightweight today. And the lightweight hurts and the lightweight is uncomfortable. And that's exactly what happened to me. And at the time, that was the first time I'd ever been through that where, I'd stopped being consistent. It's the first time in like a year and a half that I'd stopped being consistent, or maybe even 2 years at that time. And I was like, damn, like I can't do even a fraction of what I used to do. This just sucks. So then I started hating the gym and I didn't want to go anymore. And then I stopped going and then I was super inconsistent. And then in March, I got a membership at a new gym, which is a smaller gym. And I thought, oh, this would be cool. I'm going to make a comeback. I'd gained like 20 pounds. I was like, okay, I'm going to make a comeback. We're going to start getting fit again. I started being kind of consistent. I would go probably like 3 or 4 times a week. And then in April of that year, I had literally nobody to work during the week for me. And so then I had to start working, 5 days a week. I was extremely tired. I didn't have as much time to go anymore. And then I just kept making excuses, and Jake and I were just eating and going out. And, I put on some happy relationship weight, whatever, what have you. And the rest of that year, I was just super inconsistent in 2024, right? Like, started with New Year's, couldn't keep it. And then in March, joined a new gym, couldn't stay consistent. And then throughout the year, I just kind of like slowly gave up and stopped working out almost entirely. Like I would go 1 or 2 days a week to that gym. And then in November, a lot of things happened. The end of October was crazy. We had a friend who was really sick. There was a lot of stress. There was a lot of waiting. There was a lot of things just going on that were really stressful and taking up a lot of our time and energy. And so I was exhausted. I wasn't going to the gym. In November, tons of even worse things happened. In November, tons of other things happened. And then we moved into this house, and then my gym was too far, so I had to cancel my gym membership. Then I got a gym membership at a gym close to here. And I've been pretty consistent, at least 3 days a week since then. Okay. And what have I learned? Okay. Because it is now June. Okay. Like it is now June. And I want to talk about this because I think it's really important. I think it's really important to talk a lot about like this burnout thing that happens to a lot of people, especially newcomers to the gym and new people into fitness and et cetera, et cetera. So I know it can get really frustrating, especially if you have a full-time job, you have to provide for your family, for yourself, you have bills to pay. A lot of times things can get complicated, but one of my really good friend said something today because we're going to start doing the 75 soft between me and her daughter, and then a couple of other people. One of them is a flight attendant. And so her schedule is crazy unpredictable. She's in an airport most of the time. There's really no healthy options in airports most of the time. And, she was saying, it's going to be harder for her, but where there's a will, there's a way. You can figure it out always, right? Because it's not like she can bring meal prep to the airport. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's not really like a thing. So as a flight attendant, it's a little bit harder for her. And I think that I agree with that so wholeheartedly. And it can seem really just like insensitive to be like, but you can still do it. But you can still do it. But I think that every person has to find this balance for themselves and understand when you need to take a break and when it's acceptable to fall off a little bit and to, stop going as hard as you used to in the gym, and when it's okay that you can't lift the same as you used to. I'm just a really strong advocate for understanding yourself and your own body and having grace with yourself, because it's so important, because fitness without rest is just self-destruction. Do you know what I'm saying? Nutrition without, enjoyment is self-destruction, and hustle without a break, without rest, is self-destruction. It's just the truth, right? And now, while some people have higher tolerances for these things, like me, I pride myself a lot on the fact that it takes a lot for me to reach burnout. And 90% of the time when I reach burnout, I realize that I'm reaching burnout and I take a step back, right? Because when you reach burnout, if you keep going, you will completely do a 180. But when you reach burnout, or when you can feel it coming on, which is even better, right? Like you want to do it before you've reached burnout, you stop yourself and you take a step back, because there's something that needs to change, right? There needs to be a little bit more room for rest. There needs to be a little bit more room for mistakes. There needs to be more room for fun and play and, all these other things that actually bring enjoyment to your life. Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're gonna burn out, right? So it's not just about, going as hard as you can and hustle and like work and gym and eat, right? It's about finding the balance between that and understanding that like, hey, this Friday I might cheat because I'm going out to my friend's birthday party and there's probably not going to be healthy options there, but I need to prioritize protein on my plate, right? Like maybe instead of having 2 slices of cake, I only have 1. And those are little compromises that you can make with yourself while you still continue to uphold a healthy, active lifestyle, and while you continue to work on your business and hustle and create a better life for yourself. Okay? And that is where a lot of like these influencers, especially when you see like male fitness influencers, they are very much all or nothing. If you can't eat right every single day, you're lazy. If you don't go to the gym, lift heavy weight, you're a bitch, blah, 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 blah. Like dudes like that who shame people. You know what I'm saying? Like that is truly not what fitness is about. And one day they're probably going to realize that. They're going to learn the hard way, unfortunately, right? And it's extremely harmful. Diet culture is insane, right? Like what's the new hottest diet, right? Oh, carnivore. Turns out that guy was on steroids. Oh, vegan. Turns out that you need to eat a lot more when you're vegan, and some people don't understand that, and then that leads to malnutrition because they don't understand how to do it the right way, right? Like now vegan is less extreme than carnivore, but I just wanted to give both sides of that coin, And for me, I was vegetarian for 11 years, I think. No, maybe 9 years. I forget how many years, but a very long time. Like my entire teenage life, I was a vegetarian from like 11 years old until 21, I believe, maybe 22. And that's a long time to be vegetarian. And for a lot of that time, I was extremely unhealthy because I was prioritizing what tasted good over what was actually going to satiate me, right? So I was eating mac and cheese. I was eating pasta. I was eating noodles. I was eating fries. I was eating, like, I used to love, and these are obviously better than McDonald's fries, but I used to love doing like baked fries in the oven. So I would take like 2 giant russet potatoes, slice them long ways, and then I would salt them and oil them and put them in the oven. And I would eat that with literal ketchup that's full of sugar and full of calories that are unnecessary. And I would eat that, and that would be a meal. Right? Because I thought that was normal. And, when we talk about keto, even ketosis is not a bad fucking idea. However, it is not sustainable long-term to be in ketosis. Your body is not meant to hold that state for an extremely long time. And it's certainly not for the rest of your life. And any diet that you can't follow for your entire life is not a sustainable diet. I'm going to repeat that. If you are on a diet that you cannot actually see yourself benefiting from and continuing with your entire life, it is not a good diet. And I promise you, none of these fad diets are. No sugar diets. That's not right. You need glucose in your body. No carbs. Again, you need energy. These things are harmful because somebody decided, oh, this helped me lose weight. It didn't help you lose weight because you cut out sugar. It helped you lose weight because cutting out sugar means you're eating 1,000 calories less a day, which then is a calorie deficit, which then boosts your metabolism to burn fat and sometimes muscle, So it's these fad diets, again, the key to them is if you can't see yourself doing them for a very long time for the rest of your life and being happy with it, it's not the right diet. Now, at first, you're not going to be happy with it, okay? Eating healthy is not easy at the beginning. You would rather be having Taco Bell. I get it. You'd be rather having Chick-fil-A. I get it. Chick-fil-A is fucking fire. But maybe instead of having Chick-fil-A every single day or every other day, you only have it once a month as a treat. Hello? Not a bad idea, right? And, let's take, for example, what was that one girl? Freely the Banana Girl on YouTube. If you don't know who she is, I'll insert a picture here. And she was really, really popular. I don't think that she has a channel anymore, but she was popular for promoting veganism, right? And she talked a lot about the cruelty of, animal treatment and all this stuff and how bad it is for you and how healthy veganism is. And her channel, I think, really started with a very honest mission, which was to spread, the message of being vegan. I have thought about in the last couple of months returning to being vegan or vegetarian. But unfortunately, it's just something that isn't that accessible to me. I don't live in an area with a lot of vegan options. I don't have a lot of time to eat and, cook the food that comes with the vegan diet. It's a little bit more work, I would say, than a regular traditional diet because you need to get your protein from a lot more sources, right? Like the volume that you need to eat is a lot more than what you would need to eat to get the same amount of protein with a chicken breast, right? You'd need to eat a lot of chickpeas to get the same protein that's in chicken breast. Not for every instance of protein or plant protein, but in many cases, right? And now with supplements and things like that, that's great too. I've really in the last year have focused a lot more of my diet into incorporating more whole foods than I have supplements in my diet because I was very supplement heavy for a long time. And while I love my supplements, I take them every single day. I do want to incorporate these whole foods because it's important, right? It's the best source of anything is a whole food, okay? And, these people who talk about, oh, do this 6 times a week for the fat glutes and blah, blah, blah. They have a BBL, and these workouts that are like, do this and blah, 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 blah. I love to follow creators that are educated in exercise science and who understand the human body because a lot of times they debunk these trendy videos where they talk about glute build this, back builder that, like skinny arm workout, and then they debunk all this stupid bullshit that people send to you for clickbait. Right? Half of these girls have BBLs and they're doing glute routines. Okay, whatever. And sometimes it's not obvious because they do go to the gym so their legs match their butt. However, It's fake, right? And it's really hard to determine what is real and what is not. It's really hard to determine what works for you and what doesn't. And so if you're somebody who's thinking about getting into fitness, thinking about getting into health and wellness, my advice to you is when you're feeling overwhelmed about all these things, just focus on the most basic thing, right? If you're overwhelmed about glute routine this, best meal prep that, best exercise this, cardio that, blah, 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 I'm going to tell you right now, anybody who starts in the gym, I'm going to tell you this right now. This is my advice to you. Start with walking on the treadmill. Literally, that's it. Bring an audiobook, bring your Netflix, bring your favorite podcasts, bring your, whatever it is that you want, whatever entertainment, bring a Kindle. I love to bring my Kindle on the Stairmaster. It's my favorite thing ever. I get my cardio done so much easier when I'm distracting my mind. Okay. And sometimes people are like, I can't do that. I can't focus twice at once. Like, cool, whatever. Bring your favorite music playlist, whatever people watch, talk shit about people in your head, whatever it takes. Okay. And do that. Okay. Do it for 10, go try to get to 25 minutes of that. Okay. Whether, for me, I remember I started with the elliptical and I could only do 11 minutes on the elliptical. It was extremely difficult for me. And then eventually I got to 25, 30 minutes on the elliptical and I started doing the Stairmaster. And again, with a Stairmaster, I could only do 15 minutes at a time. And then I could get up to 25 and 30 minutes, right? And you build this endurance as you go. So start with 10 to 25 minutes of this first cardio warm up, right? Low intensity. You don't need to run, go too fast or anything like that. And then I want you to go find a nice little corner, grab you a little set of dumbbells, whether those are 10 pounders, 5 pounders, 20 pounders, right? And you're just going to do a little bit of some squats. Use the dumbbell. You're going to do a little bit of some arm raises. Use the dumbbell. You're going to do some lunges and then do a little tiny ab workout that you found on YouTube or on TikTok. Okay. Simple as that. Keep it under 25 minutes. Great. You've got a 45-minute, 50-minute workout that you can do every single day, and it doesn't require a lot of knowledge. You didn't need to learn what machines are which, what they work, what they don't work with. You don't need to learn how to use the machine yet. That you can learn, and this is my second little bit of advice, is watch people at the gym who look like what you want to look like. This helps me so much. I have seen workouts at the gym that I have never seen online. Okay. I have seen people do certain routines at the gym that look amazing. And I see them at the gym every single day. And I go, I'm going to start doing what they do. I'm going to watch them from my little cardio machine for the first 10, 25 minutes of my workout. And then after, I'm going to go try what they just did because clearly what they're doing is working. Right. And that's my advice for people who are starting to go to the gym at first. Just show up, do a little bit of cardio, walking, stairs, elliptical, bike, row machine, whatever. Start with 10 minutes, work your way up to 25. And then for the rest of the 45 minutes of your workout, just do what you see other people do in the gym. Or at first, grab a pair of dumbbells that are light enough for you to use and try some stuff. That's it. That's my advice, right? I'm not going to give you specific exercises or routines, but just do a little bit of what you see other people do and with time you'll learn. And then when you go into the gym next time, after you just watched a TikTok video of how to use the leg press, now you'll know how to use it. You can walk into the gym, do your cardio, watch somebody use the leg press, and boom, you know how to use the leg press. And that's something you learned. Just be patient with yourself, right? When it comes to nutrition, do what feels right for you. Okay. A lot of times people say, hey, you should start with 100 grams of protein a day. It's recommended 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Well, if you weigh 225 pounds, that's a lot of fucking protein. You would have to eat a lot of damn food to get that, right? I always recommend start with 100 grams of protein. Don't track anything else. Don't track your calories. Don't track carbohydrates. Don't track fiber. Don't track sugar content. Don't track anything else but 100 grams of protein a day, right? So if you're cooking for yourself and you see on the package that it has 3 servings and each serving of chicken is X amount of calories, X amount of protein, X amount of carbohydrates, blah, 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 ignore everything except for the protein. Boom, I'm getting 28 grams of protein in this chicken breast. Great. Knock it off for the day. In the morning, if you're having a yogurt, you're looking at, hey, a cup of yogurt has 20 grams of protein. Boom, I got 48 grams of protein for the day. Your dinner is a slice of salmon. The package said that it's going to have 40 grams of protein. Boom. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is how you start the routine. And that's also how you'll slowly start to learn how to read labels, understand, how much protein you actually need in a day. And hopefully at one point, you'll be able to get to a place where you're intuitively eating. And now some people choose not to intuitively eat. That just basically means that you just eat as you go. Like, you kind of already understand how much food, protein, calories you need in a day because you've tracked in the past. And or you just have a little bit of education and you just eat. Now, some people track every single meal, which is cool. And I think it's really important in the beginning to, progress from just tracking protein to tracking calories, and then to go from there to tracking carbohydrates, and then fat content, and then sugar content. You can progress slowly. You don't have to overwhelm yourself with a million things at once. Stop listening to the noise, because that will stop you completely. It will freeze you in place from doing anything because you're so overwhelmed and confused about what it is the right thing. You know what the right thing is? You go to the gym, you eat healthy, you drink water, and you get sleep. That's it. And I promise you, so many other things in your life will fall into place. So many other things. Now, for some of you, you might be like, Gabby, I can't afford a gym membership. I don't have one in my community. What do? Go for a walk. Go for a walk. Go for a walk every single day. When you go for your walk, after you've been going for a walk for a week, try lunging on your walk. Try when you go for your walk, go at a park and then use whatever gym equipment is at the park, because most parks nowadays have some sort of pull-up bar, a sit-up bench. They have something for you to work out on, whatever that may be. Hey, if you want to work out by putting on a Zumba dance class video, do that. You like music, you like to dance, put that shit on. There's so many free ways to work out on the internet. Go out and invest in some bands, a dumbbell, maybe a yoga mat. All these things are sold, by the way, at Five Below. Not sponsored, but Five Below sells a lot of gym equipment that is pretty great for beginners, in my opinion. So go look at that stuff. Go try it out, right? Like, you don't know until you try. And I think that, how you avoid this hustle culture, burnout from all of this is by doing it, right? Because you learn your limits, right? Like, I fucked up. I lifted 700 and something pounds on a leg press. I messed up my leg. I know I don't need to be lifting that kind of heavy weight. Now, when I do the leg press, I load up maybe 250 pounds on it, which I know seems like a lot. And when I started, I couldn't do any more than the actual machine, which I believe weighs like 40 pounds or something like that. Each machine is different. Your machine will have a label that says how much it weighs, so you kind of get an idea. But in the beginning, I started not even being able to lift that. Like, that was a struggle for me. I could only do 3 sets with maybe 8 reps. And now I can do 250, 10 to 12 reps. It's great for me. It works. Am I pushing myself to the max? No. But I know that for me, that's what works. That maintains my quads, that maintains my hammies, depending on foot placement. And I feel good about it, right? I know when I've eaten something wrong. I know when I go out to eat, I have a choice to make. When I go out to eat, you don't have to eat the worst thing on the menu. Most places when I go out to eat, there's something on that menu that I can have, whether it's a salad, some salmon with rice. That's always my go-to, a chicken breast, right? Maybe you can ask for your chicken breast with a side salad and blah, 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 blah. Whatever feels good to you. And sometimes you go out to eat and you go, hell yeah, it's a Friday night, it's a Saturday night, I'm out with my boo thing. I'm going to get the pasta. I'm going to have a pizza. I'm going to have mac and cheese. I'm going to do whatever I want, whatever tastes good to me, because you deserved it. You earn it. You do really good throughout the week. One meal a week is not going to kill your progress unless you're like a bodybuilder, unless, you are doing these extreme things. It's not going to kill your progress. As long as you have the self-control to stop there, which is something that, honest to God, you have to build up. Because at first, you really need to be strict with yourself and push yourself. And then once you have the habit of eating healthy, and once you've enjoyed your healthy fitness and your healthy active lifestyle, that's when you can start to incorporate a lot of cheat meals that are not going to amount to a lot of cheat meals. Does that make sense? Like, instead of only having a cheat meal once a month, like you had in the beginning of your journey, maybe now you can have it once a week. And maybe now 2 times a week, you can have a low calorie, protein yogurt sweet treat. Hey, I love me a sweet treat. So learning these things through the journey it takes a lot of time. I'm going to be honest with you. And there is a lot of noise on the internet about what's the right thing to do. But the right thing to do is just what feels good. That's just the truth. And at first, it's not always going to feel good, right? Like running is going to suck at first. Walking is going to suck at first. Waking up early in the morning to go to the gym is going to suck at first. But once it's a routine, your endurance expands. And it now becomes a part of your routine. It now becomes something that's easier for you. Is it always going to be easy? No, you're going to have days where you don't want to go. Push through. Get it through a couple of those days, because there's going to come one day where you really don't want to go. When you're sick, when your body hurts, when you're exhausted, when you're losing your mind, when you're having mental health issues, when you're having personal issues in your life, when you're having extra business stress, whatever that may be, there's going to be a day that comes when you're going to need to use the excuse, and you're going to need to not go to the gym for your own well-being, because that's what's best for your body. Now, you shouldn't use it every day, which is why this thing is important. Having the grace with yourself is important when you really need it. And you can only really understand when you're going to really need it by practicing. So that's just my little talk. I honestly think that everybody should be focused on their health and their fitness. And I'll tell you why. Because a lot of my depression was so horrible for me that I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to do anything with my life. I didn't have the energy to do anything with my life. I was working. I was smoking weed. I was hanging out with friends. That's the only thing I gave a shit about. I didn't care about myself. I didn't take care of myself. I was going through a depression. Nobody knew. Before I'd even moved to California, when I was a teenager, I was extremely depressed. All I wanted to do was go home, take a nap, drink coffee, smoke weed. That's all I wanted to do in the worst years of my life, okay? And I'm sure I seemed like a happy-go-lucky person because I'm really good at masking. I think a lot of people with depression are. And depression is very much self-hatred for me. It was a lot of you don't deserve happiness. You're a horrible person. You disgust me. I hate myself. That was what my depression was. And so if that's how it manifests for you, I suggest trying out moving your body and honoring it. And I know firsthand that sounds a lot easier than it is. And it might take you a couple of years. And a lot of times for most people with depression, it comes in seasons. I don't mean seasonal depression. I mean actual, you're depressed all the time. Some days are worse than others. And you just need to catch yourself on that day that it feels a little bit less heavy, and use that little bit of energy that you have to go for a walk, go outside, try some yoga, right? Whatever that is. Cook yourself a meal instead of just running through the drive-thru, right? And I promise you, it gets easier with time. But sometimes it's just a matter of waiting for that day that it's just a little bit brighter. Does that make sense? Just like when you wait to go to the beach when it's nice and sunny and hot out, you got to wait to start your journey until, you're mentally ready for it, because a lot of times people aren't. And going to the gym and being depressed at the same time can turn into, maybe some negative things. Cool. But it can also really, really change your life. And I think that for me, having the physical outlet, especially because a lot of my depression also stems and manifests in anger, getting out that anger by throwing weight around was really fucking good for me. I was extremely angry. I was extremely depressed and angry and mad at the world, mad at men, mad at a man, and mad at myself. And I think that the gym and nutrition changed my life. But, at first just came going to the gym. Like I said, I started at Planet Fitness. I still wasn't eating that good. I still wasn't drinking enough water. I still wasn't really sure what I was doing in the gym. I was just doing what I thought was right, copying people, copying what I saw on the internet. And I figured it out. I didn't have a trainer. At first, I didn't have anybody to hold me accountable. I was hiding so badly that instead of going to the gym that was closest to me, I went to the gym that was far from me because I felt like, oh, I probably won't see anybody from high school there. Probably won't see anybody that I know over there because I don't know anybody who lives over there. And so I would drive 25 minutes out of the way instead of going 5 minutes up the road to go to a gym because I didn't want to be around people because I was embarrassed. And I just think that a lot of things in your life can fall into place when you have priority for your health and fitness. Because, when you work out, you get tired, your sleep schedule is probably going to even out, right? When you work out, you've got endorphins, helps a lot with mental health. When you work out, you might have a little bit more energy throughout the day to get the things done that you need to get done. You're eating right. Again, you're going to have more energy. You're eating right. Your acne clears. You have a little bit more self-confidence in yourself. You're eating right. You're losing weight. You're toning up. Again, more confidence in yourself. You're drinking enough water. You're feeling less bloated. You're not having as many tummy aches. You're not having as much social anxiety because you're like, I need a bathroom close to me at all times because I have tummy aches. Like, that is amazing. It can change your life in so many different ways. And you get one person for your entire life, and it is yourself. And taking care of that is more important than fostering any other relationship. Because if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, you can't have a good relationship with other people. And that's just the truth. Okay? So this is your sign to go try it out, whatever it is for you. Maybe it's not the gym. Maybe it's not running. Maybe it's dancing. Maybe it's taking dance classes. Maybe it's pole classes. Maybe it's Pilates. I tried Pilates the other day. Crazy. I did a 25-minute demo class and my abs hurt the next day. How? I don't fucking know, but they killed me. Okay. It was a fun time though. And, like I said before, being transparent, I've fallen off in the last year of, the super hard, consistent grind that I was on. But hey, it happens. It happens to the best of us sometimes, okay? And that's okay. You just got to get back on the horse however you feel like it. And today, one of my friends approached me at work and was like, hey, do you want to do 75 hard? And I know that with my schedule, with content creation, running my business all day long, coming home, editing, filming, recording, posting, interaction, social media, and managing my businesses in the background, like my business in the background, meaning like finances, inventory, ordering, social media, promotion, ads, etc. I don't have a lot of time. So working out twice a day, probably not the most realistic. And that's what I told her. And she goes, oh, okay. And I was like, but we can do 75 soft, right? So I'm like, great. We got a group of like 5 of us. We're going to start on Thursday. Baby, it's Tuesday. I'm excited for Thursday. I was like, hell yeah. I'm going to go to Whole Foods. I'm going to get me some chicken breast. I'm going to get me some salmon. I'm going to get me some yummy greens. And we're going to eat good this week because I'm excited to have that new sense of accountability. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a new challenge. So I recommend you join a challenge somewhere. There's tons of fitness challenges everywhere all the time. There's tons of Facebook groups for this sort of thing. Join a challenge because it's so much fun. Do a 75 soft, a 75 hard if you can, right? Like, do something to challenge yourself. Because I've noticed that when I have a specific goal in mind and something to prove to other people, I go pretty hard. So yeah, I'm going to be starting 75 soft this weekend and we'll be done with the 75 soft like 4 days before my birthday, which is awesome because like I said, we're going to Cali. I'm so excited. I'm going to be looking sexy. I'm going to be feeling good. Going to go see my fam. I love Cali. It makes me happy. It's really like where I'm the happiest, I think. Obviously, like with my boyfriend is like number 1 and then like California is number 2. I have a soft place in my heart for Cali. Like it truly is just the best thing. And I want to leave you guys this week with some tips that actually helped me. I know I gave you guys a little bit of tips before, but I have a couple here that I have listed for not just fitness, but also overall wellness. So a lot of times in the morning when you wake up, you put on your music on the radio, right? Like on your way to work or while you're getting ready, et cetera, et cetera. I used to listen to a lot of like rap and a lot of like, I'm a bad bitch, blah, 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 energy music, which is great. but I feel like a lot of it comes off sort of aggressive. It's very in your face. So I have a morning playlist that I play on the way to work that is very like chill and calm. And if I'm not feeling like listening to just music, I'll listen to a podcast about like something positive, about wellness, fitness, nutrition, something positive. There's tons out there, right? Or I listen to a podcast that makes me laugh, not necessarily something like heavy and an aggressive emotion in the morning, right? And like, I'm not like a big meditate in the morning. I don't journal every single day. I journal here and there. I think it helps a lot with my mental health. I think it helps a lot to have that outlet. It works for me. It might not work for you. I also recommend that when you start with your nutrition journey, right, like eating healthy and stuff like that, start prioritizing protein and fiber over anything else, right? Like don't count the carbs, don't count the calories. Make sure there's enough protein and enough fiber in that meal, because those two things are going to help you a ton on a journey, especially a weight loss journey, but also just fitness in general. Fiber helps you to feel full, right? So it helps to keep you full longer, which is really important. For women, I believe the recommendation is 25 grams of fiber a day. For men, I believe it's like 35 or 38 or something like that. But yeah, just focus on those two things. Don't bother with the calories yet. Don't bother with the carbs yet. Just protein, fiber, whole foods, making sure you're eating good and drinking enough water. That's really all I would focus on when it comes to nutrition in the beginning. What I would focus on with movement, and I'm going to say movement, not exercise, is any movement, right? 30 minutes a day, whether that's a walk, taking your dog for a walk, going for a run, doing weights, doing a Zumba class, doing a workout YouTube video, whatever that is, trying out Pilates, bar, yoga. There's a million options out there. Swimming, so many different things you can do for activity. Like I said, skateboarding before, that's like what my physical activity used to be. Go out and skateboard, hang out with friends, do something fun, go out roller skating even. That's really cool. I used to do that when I was a kid. I recommend that if you have a sugar problem, which I think a lot of people in this country in America do, try sugar replacing processed sugars with natural sugars from fruits, whole fruits. I love a good grape. I love a good apple. I love watermelon, mango, something sweet and yummy that's going to satiate that sugar craving, but is not going to push back your goals, right? It's not going to hinder you from moving forward with your goals. And yeah. And I also just recommend you do something every single day for your mental health, whether that's, listening to your favorite movie, listening to your favorite song, listening to your favorite creator, podcaster, whatever that may be, reading books that make you happy. Do something every single day that brings you joy. Just one little thing, okay? And if that one little thing is a sweet treat, find the healthy alternative to your sweet treat and have it, okay? Because life is too short to not enjoy it. So yeah, that's really all my advice when it comes to fitness and nutrition. I'm not an expert. I'm just telling you guys based off of my experiences in life, what I think is important when it comes to that. And understand that a lot of what you see online is not as it seems. Somebody may seem like they, have all this time in the world to go to the gym. Gym influencers get paid to work out. That is their full-time job. Of course, they have time to go to the gym for 2 hours a day. You, a stay-at-home working mother, doesn't have time to go to the gym 2 hours a day. Maybe you only have time for a 25-minute walk with all of your kids. Whatever works, right? Find what works for you and have patience with yourself and grace, but also make sure you're pushing yourself to get out of your comfort zone, because I think that's the only way that we grow. So yeah, basically that's all I have to say this week. And I hope you guys enjoy this podcast episode. I hope maybe you learned something. I hope maybe you feel validated in your journey through fitness and nutrition. And just make sure to take care of yourself, because like I said, you only spend your entire life with one person. It's you. Everything else is temporary, and you need to take care of you. And I know sometimes it can be hard. And trust me, I get it. My depression girlies, I get it. But hopefully one day, you can have the drive and the energy to do it and to try it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. Really, really quick, our yuck and yums of this week. I need to give a big shout out, okay? Number one, my big yuck of this week is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Yeah. I didn't like this book. I DNF'd it at about 54% of the way through. I think it's a soft DNF. Maybe in the future, if I feel the need to finish the story, I will. I just am not a fan of like age gaps that are trying to be validated to me by an author. I don't think it's cool. I don't like it. I don't agree. I don't want to be convinced that it's cool to date a 22-year-old at 36. I'm sorry. The numbers ain't numbering. I don't care if you're two consenting adults. It's weird. And in this book, it is a younger man with an older woman. So I feel like that is purposeful to make the story, to convince people that it's okay. But if we switch the genders around and it was a 22-year-old girl with a 36-year-old man pushing 40, I think we'd be a little bit more concerned than we are in this book. And honestly, I like Ivan, who's this younger character. I like Peter, who's the older brother, whose story we're also following. I just feel like I don't want to be convinced that a 22-year-old dating a 36-year-old is okay. I just feel like Peter's kind of an asshole, and I don't really care about his story. And I'm not convinced by the story. I'm not compelled by it. That's a better word. I'm not compelled by it. So it's a soft DNF. It's a soft DNF for now, but honestly, I don't think I'll probably end up picking it back up, but I'm just saying soft DNF because I might. It's just, I don't know. I just wasn't a big fan. Respectfully. So, yeah. But anyways, my yum of this week. So my yum of this week, let me sit up. So my yum of this week, since we're talking about fitness and nutrition, I'm going to share with you guys my favorite little snack. This one's for my Hispanics. Okay, it's for my Latinos. Take grapes, put them in the fridge, put them in the freezer for like 10 minutes. Okay, put them in a bowl. Take some tajin, pour it out. Okay, put it in like a little cup or a dish or something. And then you're going to either wet your grapes or just bite them in half, dip it a little bit in the tajin, eat that bitch. Oh, so good. So good. Okay, y'all cannot tell me that snack doesn't hit every single time. It's delicious. Honestly, anything with tajin, especially fruit, watermelon with tajin, mango with tajin, grapes with tajin, apples with tajin and lime juice, so freaking good. So, yeah, I just thought I would share that with you guys because that was the snack that I was like hyper fixated on this past week, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. So, that's all for this week. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching again another episode of the Gabby Hour. I hope to see you guys here every single Monday. Go ahead and check out my vlog channel. Also, I post reading vlogs and lifestyle vlogs and just stuff about my life that maybe you'll enjoy. Check out my TikTok. We have a TikTok for the podcast, and I have a personal. It's Gabby Giselle on TikTok. So go check that out. Everything will be linked down below. And I love you guys. Have a beautiful, wonderful day. And I'll see you later. Bye.